Okay, so I'm going to turn it over to Jonathan.
Works. My name's Jonathan. I'm a grateful recovering addict. What's up, family? Grateful to be here. Narcotics Anonymous convention here at Spirituality is Key. It's a big deal. Really serene. I was out there looking at the mountains this morning before I came up to do this thing, and just kind of reflecting. There says our gratitude speaks when we care and when we share the NA way. The first thing I do when I speak to care and share the NA way is invite my higher power in. So I'm just going to take a moment of silence to do that real quick before I get going. All right, thank y'all. Hopefully now that I'm out of the way, I can share the message. First, I want to say to the newcomer, if you're new here, new to the program, welcome home. Welcome home. This is, I want to touch on the very first thing that I found in Narcotics Anonymous, and that's the identification as an addict. I spent a lot of time out there at Active Addiction in a mind that thought that I was the only one that thought the thoughts that I did. And when I came into the program, the first thing that ever resounded in me was the hope that I found, that I saw. There was, not only did I see, but also heard, because I heard you guys share, and I realized that I wasn't alone, that I had found a group of people that I could identify with, because they thought, or you guys thought the same way I did. And getting that identification was huge, because not only did I see that I wasn't alone, but that there was hope and there was a way out, that I didn't have to continue living the way that I was. I didn't have to stay sick. And I'm really grateful for that. Step one, I'm going to go straight in. So this one's on steps 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to go straight into step 1. Actually, right here at the top it says, if you want, we have to offer, and are willing to make the effort. If you're willing to make the effort to get it, and you're ready to take certain steps. Right? These steps were written by our predecessors, I'm going to read step 1, and I'm going to touch on my favorite word in step 1. We admitted that we were powerless over our addiction, that our lives had become unmanageable. And for me, I don't know if a lot of people point this out, but it was huge for me. The word that is so important for me in step 1 is word. And what it means to me when they said word is written by people who had learned to live the program. And what it means is once I learn to live the program, I pick up the tools and the principles and learn to live the steps and the traditions, right? I am no longer powerless over my addiction. I have a set of tools that I can use. I can choose not to use them, and I can stay sick. Or I can use them, and I can find recovery. There was a lot of places in my active addiction where I felt powerless. I had a lot of unmanageability. I experienced powerlessness and unmanageability time and time again. A lot of times it looked like a pair of handcuffs, or the back of a squad car, or really, really shitty into a relationship that I value. But the disease has a great forgetter, because what I would do is maybe change something up, not everything, just something, long enough for the pain or the consequence to move, for me to get through it. And then I'd forget. that powerlessness and that unmanageability that my disease had gotten to. So for me, the most important word in step one is admitted. And the spiritual principle behind step one is honesty. So I'm making an honest admission that I'm powerless over my disease and my life has become unmanageable. And that's something that's always going to be there. I thought when I first came in, maybe there was a way that I'd figure out how to manage my using. That powerlessness and that unmanageability is a given and a guarantee as soon as I pick up the first one. For me, step one, I think we talk about the gift of desperation. And when I came in, I was beaten, I was broken. I remember crying happy fucking tears in the back of the squad car on the way to Hall County Jail. Because I knew it was over and I wasn't going to have, somehow I just knew I wasn't ever going to have to use against my will again, just for a day. I knew for some reason I found my just right ass whooping. And I'm grateful for that. And right on the other side of that surrender came gratitude. And I remember I was in Hall County Jail, and I used to do this thing where I'd get the jailhouse religion kind of thing. I got a pen and case, and I'm going to pray myself out of this thing, And steps 1, 2, and 3 are about that relationship with a higher power. And what I had was a childlike relationship. I treated my higher power like a genie in a box, and I just or a genie in a lamp, just get them out and rub them. Everything is, I got some consequences. And as soon as the consequences went out, I put that lamp right back on the shelf. And that wasn't a relationship with God. In fact, I was playing God, and I was trying to use God as my tool in my world where I was God. And so that gift of desperation, it carried me in to a point of surrender. And out of that surrender came willingness. And as long as I kept gratitude, because each day was always better than the last, from the day that I got arrested to today, there's always been a trajectory. They say my worst day clean is better than my best day using, and I thought whoever said that was crazy as shit. But then I thought about it and I looked at what the trajectory was. From the very first time I picked up and how great that was, I still ended up where I ended up in my bottle. And from the very first day when I wasn't using and I was going through withdrawals and I was shitting in one toilet and throwing up in the other in Hall County Jail, and I was sick as hell, I still had a better trajectory because it took me to where I'm at today. I finally got that. Step 2 says we came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. And I stepped on that power concept and then go in my relationship. See, I was fortunate enough to come in with a God of my own understanding, and I still have the same God of my understanding. The only difference is my understanding of that God has changed. I no longer have a genie in a lamp God. I don't pray foxhole prayers. Today I have a relationship with my higher power. The spiritual principle behind step 2 is hope. And for me, it's a process of coming to believe, because I always thought that since I got myself into this mess, when I had those consequences and I found that brief moment of powerlessness and unmanageability, okay, I got myself into this, I got to get myself out. So I thought that it was my job to restore myself to sanity. But that's not what the step said. Step 1's I can't, step 2's he can. No, like that power greater than myself, and this concept of restoration and sanity. When I was using, I kept doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. I try to switch up one thing or another. What problem was the choices that I made gave me the consequences that I got, right? But I couldn't see that because I inserted blame in the middle. Is really what I did in my disease. So I got arrested one time, and there's a lot of stuff that was going on, but essentially I'd been up for a while and I was riding around with a lot of drugs. And I've seen a cop and I was coming through Snellville. I don't know if y'all know where Snellville is, but it's a bad place to drive around with drugs. And share that, right? He's on the corner of the intersection, sitting at the light, and I'm coming up on the light, and it's at Lenora Church Road, 78 or something like that. And I remember very distinctly, I've been up for a long time. I looked over at this guy, and I seen him I was shocked because I didn't see him until it was way too late. And I'm going through the red light, and it's turning red, and I'm looking at him, and I guess the shock from realizing it was about to all go down, I straight passed out in his face. So I out through the light. I look up and there's blue lights behind me, and I'm yeah, it's going down. We talk about this surrender thing, that was back when I didn't surrender. This last arrest, the one that got me handcuffed clean, and I surrendered. It was the first time I didn't fight and run. I was ready. It was time. It was over. This one was not that. I got out or he got me out, and I looked like Schmeagol from Lord of the Rings. I was 90 pounds soaking wet, and I fought, and they had to call in extra officers and everything. But long story short, when I'm talking about choices and consequences, my choice, what I decided was my reason that I did that prison sentence was because that officer was profiling me and singling me out, and because I ran a red light. So my solution was not, all that dope in the car, I should stop doing dope and carrying dope around so that I don't get a prison sentence. It looked a whole lot like I should stop dressing that way and dress nicer. And also, whenever I come up to a red light, I should go red. I should go right on red. So the insanity piece of that was for the next however long I was out, because the getting and using and finding ways and means to get more absolutely dominated my life at this point in time. And the time in prison got longer and longer, and the time out got shorter and shorter. And this one was a shorter period of time. But for that period of time, all I did was go right on red. So I made a lot of fucking circles. And that's what I'm talking about. When we're talking about restoration of sanity, we're talking about stopping the circles. And I got a disease, and it resides in my mind, in between my ears, and I got a thinking problem. Using's just a symptom. How the hell am I going to think my way out of a thinking problem? I can't. I need a power greater than myself to do that. And today, man, I got gifts of recovery, and you know what? Any addict can stop using, lose the desire to use, find a new way to live. Today I can say, check. Lost the desire. It's fucking awesome. It's not to say I don't think about it, but today my disease shows up in other ways because my thinking's still there, and which means I can put 1, 2, and 3 on my thinking, right? On my fears, on my pain, on my loss, on my confusion, on my grief. I can put 1, 2, and 3 all day on everything. And when they talk about, doing what we did, they're not talking about just writing it down on a piece of paper. They're talking about living the program every day. Coming to believe is a process. At first I was like, I hope I can. I hope this might work. I hope I can be like you guys and find a new way to live and be happy, joyous, and free and all that stuff that I saw that gave me the hope. But I didn't know if it would work. I was just hopeful that it would. And then I started taking that open-mindedness and that willingness and putting it into practical application. Because 3 frogs are on a log, 2 of them decide to jump. How many are left? Everybody says 1 frog at first. It's 3 frogs because all they did was make a decision. I got to put the action in. Right? So I got to start trying this thing. And that's born of hope, and that willingness comes, and then one day somebody points out that I'm growing. And I see it in myself, and I realize it, and that hope comes faith, because I hope that it might work, and now that I'm seeing that it is, and I experience some change, some growth, and recovery is real in my life, bringing me to step 3. We made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. And step 3 is one of my favorite steps. It's one of the hardest steps too. It says having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps in step 12. And I believe that we have a spiritual awakening as a result of each step. In step 1, I learned that honesty was essential in all my affairs. Honesty with others, honesty with self, and honesty with the God of my understanding. And the spiritual awakening that I had as a result of that step is I'm really shot out, and I suck at lying nowadays, and I kept getting caught in my lies and beat up and shit and active addiction at the end. So it was really a good spiritual awakening to realize that it's a lot easier to be honest. And I don't have to get caught in lies if I'm always telling the truth. Step 3, making that decision to turn my will and my life over to care of God as I understood Him. For me, initially it was very clear that my will and God's will were different. So it was a surrender. It was an active surrender that I had to participate in on a regular basis. My sponsor told me to get up, do my surrender and my prayer and my meditation each day, and ask God to keep me clean, and ask for God's will in my life, not my will. And initially, that was really hard because on pretty much all occasions, I can't consistently make good decisions, and it was really bad when I first got clean. So everything that I wanted to do was usually not a good idea. So they got this thing that they say, first thought wrong. Whatever it is, first thought wrong. I've heard that there's sponsors that literally answer the phone when they get a new sponsee the same way for 30 days. First thought wrong. First thought wrong. All right. First thought wrong, and it was so true for me. I always had, my first thought was always a bad fucking idea. Clean, not using. I'm being restored to sanity, but it's happening real slow right now, boss. The good news is this is a progress, not perfection thing. And if you're not putting in, then you will naturally be restored to sanity. I'll be honest with you. You can stay sick as long as you want. Some people say I'll change when the pain gets great enough. I don't know. Maybe I'm not that much of a literature guru or whatever, but I haven't found that in the literature. I think it's just a saying, but maybe I'm wrong. There's a tape now. Somebody correct me somewhere if I am. But I like to be a little bit more proactive with it. I like to if I get some awareness, my higher power sees fit to show me something that I need to work on. I don't have to wait till the pain gets great enough. I can start moving to a solution, and the way that I do that is I ask my higher power to help me with it. My ability to share in a meeting, my ability to carry the message, my ability to work my program, everything comes from my higher power. The God of my understanding is the reason that I can do this thing every day and every moment just for today. That's where this comes from. And in steps 1, 2, and 3, they told me, if you can learn to live steps 1, 2, and 3, then you can stay clean for the rest of your life. And it's true. They sure got a closet to clean out in 4 and 5, and there's some other work to do. 1, 2, and 3 is get right with God. 4, 5, and 6, get right with self. 7, 8, and 9, get right with others. 10, 11, 12, stay right with everybody. There's a process to it, but if you can get 1, 2, and 3 down, you can stay clean. And I'll share this and then I'll go passing it on, but 1, 2, and 3 gave me the ability. If you haven't worked a 4th and 5th step, and you feel like you're not ready, it's probably because you haven't worked 1, 2, and 3. Because 1, 2, and 3 prepare you for the 4th step. To ride on that thing and I invite God into it every time I sat down. I just finished writing one. I'm about to actually present my 5th step with my sponsor immediately after this. So I'm going through 1 through 5 this morning. And I'm really grateful that is the way that my higher power decided to line this situation up. It's just how things fell together. So, I'm really, really, really so grateful. Words can't even express how grateful I am that I found the Fellowship of Narcotics Anonymous, and I found this program, and I found that new way to live because, today I have a life worth living. I have a life I thought I never could have. I used to think that, I remember one day, I think I was doing the walk of shame kind of deal, coming back from a long night of using it. Hello, Moto. I felt like I was just so discombobulated. I'm walking and it's like rush hour traffic, and I see all these soccer moms driving in their SUVs. They're taking their kids in their nice cars from their nice houses to go to their nice jobs and their nice careers, and I just remember thinking how the hell do they do that? What is it like to be a normal person? I don't even understand. There was no way I could fathom the concept of being like that. And I didn't know at the time that the reason why I couldn't do that was my disease was in the way. I just thought everybody in the world used it. Some people were better at dealing with it than others, or something. But I never thought I could have that life that I was walking on the side of the road, watching hundreds of people have, And today I have that life. So grateful for that, And the best thing is, not only do I have a life worth living, I got that house, I got that car, I got that shit. This addict's got insurance and a 401k. I went from state convict to state contractor. The gifts of my recovery are awesome. But the biggest gift is that I got a foundation in steps 1, 2, and 3 that help me keep whatever my higher power gives me. I don't never have to lose that stuff again. I got a lot of stuff and I lost it again lots of times in my life. But I don't ever have to lose anything again. And what I really mean by lose, I say give away. I ain't got to give none of it away today. I get to keep everything that this program's giving me as long as I keep living this program. I'm a satisfied customer in anything. Thanks for letting me share.
Thank you for sharing.
Hi, I'm Mike. I'm an addict.
Mike.
Thank you for sharing, buddy. That was awesome. I've always looked at steps 1, 2, and 3. Well, I've always looked at recovery by its basic definition, which means getting something back. I'm getting my life back. The one that I tried my best to screw up, the one that I poured kerosene on and watched it burn, the one that, I did everything in the world to lose. recovery by definition means getting it back. So 1, 2, and 3 to me are the very building blocks, and like he said toward the end there, the foundation of everything. And the more I look at it like a bridge, like one of those big suspension bridges. Y'all ever seen like the one in Savannah or whatever? And I used to think 1, 2, and 3 were like 3 pillars of that. But lately it's kind of changed a little bit, because I see step 1 as the bedrock that everything else is built off of. It's absolutely the most important piece of the equation. If I come in and I'm not completely honest and completely surrendered to the fact that I will never, ever, ever be able to use successfully again, that my life when I'm doing drugs or alcohol is completely unmanageable. And I don't need any more evidence of that. You know what I mean? The evidence is clear. If this was a court case, it would be open and shut. Perry Mason couldn't help it. You know what I mean? I have to totally surrender myself to that idea and to that reality. And once I do that, then I've reached down and I've actually reached the bedrock on which I can build everything else. And steps 2 and 3, they become the pillars of that bridge that's going to get me back to my life. You know what I mean? But if I don't completely get down to that bedrock and I don't get on that solid footing, it doesn't matter how good I build anything else from that point on. Because eventually, maybe not today, maybe not next week, maybe not next year, but if that's not on that solid foundation, eventually everything is going to crumble. No matter how good everything else looks. So to me, step 1 is getting down to the nitty-gritty, getting down, not to where I think I'm an addict. Not to where I say, I might be an addict. There might be something wrong with me. Or maybe I just got a little too far out there and I take some time off, kind of hit the reset button, and I can get back into it. You know what I mean? I can control it like I did at the beginning. You know what I mean? Back when it was fun. All that's not getting down to the bedrock. That's putting my pillars on shifting sand at best. So, when I came in, I knew I was whooped. You know what I mean? I had no problem whatsoever admitting I'm, powerless over this. I remember sitting in a motel room. I had one more hit. It was 2 o'clock in the morning. I had to work the next day. I might have had enough money in my pocket for some lunch or some breakfast or something, but I remember sitting there and I was like, I'm going to get some sleep tonight. I'm going to get up in the morning, go eat some breakfast. Then I'm going to do this and go to work, make some money. You know what I mean? And 20 minutes later, bam, there I go. And I remember that feeling in the pit of my stomach. It's like, why? Why did I do that? I said I wasn't going to do that. It makes no sense to do that. There was no reason to do that. I'm sitting alone in this little shitty motel, and now I'm going to be up, and then I was up till 10 o'clock in the morning, and then I pass out, and then I'm late for work, and they want to fire me and all this stuff. So there we go with powerlessness and unmanageability all wrapped up into one nice little package. You know what I mean? So the evidence is there. So I was completely convinced the day that lady right there took me to a meeting, that I was done. So I got down to the bedrock on it, and I admitted it, and I'm comfortable and completely confident in the knowledge that I am a pickle, and no matter how hard I try, I will never be a cucumber again. So there's my foundation. Then I start building the pillars of this bridge, because something's going to have to hold it all up, you know what I mean? And that's what 2 and 3 are to me. To say, we come to believe that the power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Well, what that does, in step 1 too, I've also really honestly admitted that I have a disease, that I have a problem, you know what I mean, that is bigger than me. And that I wasn't just a shitty person. That I wasn't a weak person. It wasn't a willpower thing. It wasn't a constitution thing. At some point, something changed over to make me an addict. And so I had an actual disease. I had a problem. That made it easier for me to deal with. Step 2, I had to come to believe that a power greater than me, which is not hard to believe in, because I've already proven that there was a power greater than me, because I said I didn't want to use, and I used anyway. So that dope was a power greater than me. You know what I mean? So I used to call it my lower power compared to the higher power that I have now. You know what I mean? But yeah, I'm not the ultimate power in the universe. If I was, I'd have a much nicer car. But so there's something bigger than me that can help restore me to sanity. This is that first pillar of that bridge going up. Because what that does is it takes the load off of me. I don't have to fight this fight by myself anymore. I don't have to struggle in a losing fight, which snowballs on top of itself. You know, and I had proven that for so long, because I know I can quit. No, I can't. Oh my God, now I feel like shit about myself. Now I want to use more. Now, oh, I can quit. No, you know what I mean? And it just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. But now I don't have to fight that fight anymore. I just have to admit that I'm insane, which obviously I am. You know, what sane person gives away everything in his life that he's ever worked for, everything that he's ever loved. The insanity part was easy to admit. But y'all said, hey, there's a power greater than you that's going to take this load off your back. It's going to help you restore that sanity. Okie doke, let's do it. I believe that now. You know what I mean? Because I sure as hell believe there's a power greater than me that helped me get rid of my sanity. So now I got one pillar of the bridge. And then you start looking at the other pillar, which is I turn my will and my life over to it. That even builds more upon the fact that I don't have to do this alone, because I'm incapable of doing this alone. I'm a big, strong guy. I've gone through a lot of things in my life from an early age that have made me strong and, you know, able to deal with the world and stuff. But this thing, I couldn't do nothing with it, man. You know what I mean? It was on me like, you know, like a shark when it grabs on you. You ever watch some Shark Week shows when a shark grabs hold of something and you know what I mean? That's how addiction had me. And it don't matter how badass you are, you're not going to get away from that on your own. You're not going to get away from that without help. You're not going to get away from that by willpower or, you know, badassery or anything like that. I've often said 100 times, you know, I thought I was a badass, but the graveyards and jails are full of badasses. and I didn't want to be in either one of those places. So I turned my will over to the care of God as I understood it. You know what I mean? I was like, if you're going to help me, please do. And as soon as I did, almost instantly, I felt the weight coming off. You know what I mean? Because now it's like you're in a bar fight and you're fighting all these guys by yourself, and then all of a sudden you feel somebody pulling somebody off of you. That kind of relief. You know what I mean? It's not all good yet. You're still in a fight, man. But you got one less thing to worry about, you know? And that's the way I felt when I worked step 3. It is like, okay, you know, if I get that much immediate relief, let's work with this and let's see what we can do, man. And so I turned my will over. I did things that before my clean date I would have thought were demeaning and ridiculous and beneath me. You know what I mean? Which is so freaking ironic, because now looking back at the things that I did when I was in active addiction that were demeaning and beneath me and ridiculous, these were nothing. You know what I mean? But you know, I was a tattoo artist. I could make money pretty easy. I had a marketable skill. I was pretty good at it. But when I got clean, because I turned my will over, because I dang said I want to do something different, I changed my whole life. And I was getting up in the morning because I didn't have a vehicle, and walking to Labor Ready and doing whatever job they put me on. You know what I mean? And they ended up with a remodel crew at Walmart. And I'm sitting here and I'm laying in between the aisles. It's like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, right? And I'm laying in between the aisles with this little razor blade on a thing, and I'm scraping up this junk that's underneath these shelves, like in the peanut butter and jelly section. You know what I mean? Yeah, you don't really know how many jars of peanut butter and jelly get broke until you're down there scraping the shit up. You know what I mean? And I was happy with myself. You know what I mean? I'm making an honest living. I'm doing something different. And this guy that I had tattooed probably 2 months before that walks up. Mike, what's up, man? What's going on? I'm like, hey, man, what are you doing? And he's like, man, what you got to do? I said, just working. You know what I mean? I didn't think nothing about it, man. You know, I'm just down there scraping up this junk. And he walks around to the next aisle, which I guess he thought was completely soundproof from that aisle over there. And I could hear him tell us, like, man, what the hell is he doing? Laying on the floor, scraping stuff up. You know what I mean? He's a tattoo artist. Why is he doing that? And I remember, for a minute, my disease jumped right in there on top of that one. Why the hell are you down here scraping up this nastiness, man? You can go make in 2 hours what you made here all day. And that's, you know, at bargain basement prices. But then, you know, because I had actually already started, I hadn't worked at Step 3 at this point, but I paid attention every time we do those readings. And I'd already started on that. And I turned my will and my life over. And I was at peace with it, man. I was at peace with making what I used to make in an hour. I would work scraping up nastiness off the floor, and for 8 hours. But I was at peace with it because I was doing something different. Something different from what got me totally screwed in life. Because my thinking, my best ideas, my will, and my guidance had me walking down the road with nothing. Looking like who done it, smelling like God knows what. I still to this day keep hearing about how bad I smell. You know what I mean? And it's just, you know, thank God. You know, that's all I can do. is thank my higher power for coming into my life when I ask him to. Thank myself, and this is the important part. I thank myself for being able to do this, for giving myself the opportunity, for going into it with an open mind, because I had taillights to follow. You know what I mean? I knew it worked because I'd seen it work. My brother-in-law, how many years you got now? 17, 18 years. And boy, you want to talk about a mess. And then I've seen other people. A person I love dearly come in the year before I did, and I saw the last time I'd seen her before, she got clean. I didn't know her. And then I saw her maybe 3 times over the next year, and every time I saw her, it was more of the woman that I met 30 years ago. And I was like, wow. You know what I mean? You can come back. You can do this. So I turned my will and my life over. And now, here I am. I've got a solid foundation that's built on this solid bedrock because I'm 100% honest. I've completed that concept of honesty in step 1, and I'm like, you are an addict, you are a pickle, you're not a cucumber, you are never going to use successfully, there's no rationale, there's no good way that anything of this, like this will ever work out for you. If you go, just because you're off somewhere, I've gone off to classes when at my old job, and I've, been sitting at a bar at like Wild Wings, not a bar, but I'm sitting at Wild Wings eating chicken wings, and I'm looking up at all this new flavored liquor they got, part of me, my disease is like, oh, that looks delicious. You're up here by yourself, nobody will ever know. But I have the gift of being able to play that tape all the way through. And I mean, when I say I play it all the way through, I play scene by scene by scene. I take this drink, I get away with it. Worst possible thing that could ever happen to me. I would rather it would be better to take that drink and get busted right on the spot. My sponsor walk in and be like, hey, what are you doing? Than for me to get away with it. Because I get away with it, now my disease is in the door. And once he's in, I'm being chased by a killer, and he's not just going to walk right back out. So I came in with that 100% honesty, 100% belief. So I'm hit the bedrock with my foundation, and now I've got my 2 pillars, and now I can really build that bridge that gets me back to my life, that gets me my recovery. You know what I mean? Because everything else that happens, like you said, if you're scared of your 4th step, you might want to go back and work 1, 2, and 3 again, because if you really do those 3, 4 is just starting to lay the pavement. You know what I mean? It gets you back across. The rest of the steps build that bridge even stronger. You know what I mean? Make it solid. The next thing you know, you got life again. A good, happy life, man. It's invaluable. And every day that I don't use, and every day that I practice these things, I feel better about myself. And that kind of stuff is totally priceless. You know what I mean? If I lose everything else in my life, I keep that. Because I never have to feel that powerlessness and that shame and that guilt and that self-loathing that I felt that night in that motel. Because, God, that was terrible. And I keep that with me, man. I carry it around like some people carry 4-leaf clovers or something in their wallets, you know what I mean? Just to make sure they always have it. I always have that with me. I always have that feeling because I never, ever want to feel that again. I'll say this and I'll shut up. And I forgot what I was going to say. And how I know now that I'm in touch with my higher power and I've told a couple people this, and it still gives me goosebumps. I recently changed jobs. Folks in here know that. But as I've been at my previous job for a while. I was very successful at my previous job. It paid good money. I wasn't really happy, you know what I mean? And I'm getting older, so my body was kind of, bucking against that. But I was offered this opportunity and this job, and I felt like a calling to it because I really love recovery, man, and I really want to share recovery, and I want to shout it from the rooftops, man. If I can do it, you can do it. So I took this up, and as I'm on my way to put in my resignation letter and to turn in my notice, I remember talking to myself out loud. I mean, I don't know why I was talking to myself out loud. I didn't say anything. But I was like, God, I hope this isn't a mistake. And now I pulled up at a red light a quarter mile from where I said that. And Express Staffing, their little sign out there? Right there on that sign it said, there are no mistakes, only opportunities. And it wasn't there the day before. See, it still moves me that I can be that in touch. You know what I mean? Sometimes my higher power will do things, and I'm like, that's what you want. That's what you want. But when you're really in tune with it, and you're really doing the right thing, there's no having to read nothing into that, man. That's like right there in your face. When you just get out of your mouth, that's like me and you having a conversation right now. Only he doesn't have a voice. There are no mistakes, bro. Just opportunities. So, yeah. Work 1, 2, and 3 ferociously. And everything else that you build on top of it will stay. If you do it lazily or half-heartedly, it might work for you. I can't say it won't. You know what I mean? But at some point, you're taking a chance on everything that you've built, no matter how much work you put into everything else. Everything else might crumble away. Thank you for letting me share.
Thanks for sharing.